Hey everyone, it's Bricks in College here, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the Speed Champions line. As with all my videos, my opinions are from the perspective of a college collector, so I don't have tons of money, I have even less space to display my Lego, but I still enjoy collecting Lego, and I collect it primarily for the purpose of display and the build process, and I don't care very much about play value. So the Speed Champions line is one of the perfect lines for collectors like me. All the sets in it are fairly cheap and small, while still looking great and being great display models. They look good on a shelf, they look good on a desk, and they're honestly detailed enough and small enough that you could put it on a desk without any other Lego collection around it, and it wouldn't look out of place. So the first set I bought in this line was the Aston Martin DB5. Now, I'm not actually a huge car person, and so originally I wasn't going to get these sets, but I visited a friend's house, and he had some of these sets, and I saw them and I thought they looked really good. Afterwards, I also noticed that they had one from the James Bond movies, the Aston Martin, and I'm a big fan of the James Bond movies, so I decided I'd get that one. In addition, I later realized that they had ones from the Fast and the Furious movies, which are also movies that I like, so I got those as well. So that's how I ended up with these three. Now, I built these and I had a good time building them, and they were on display for a while, but at some point I realized that they were kind of lacking in color. While the Skyline GTR does have a little splash of blue, for the most part these cars are just gray and black, and I desperately needed more color in my collection. So after looking at all the sets Lego had in this line, I noticed the Ford combo pack with the GT Heritage Edition and the Bronco. And this really appealed to me because of the Bronco. They haven't made very many larger cars in the Speed Champions line, and so I thought it would be cool to get one. And in addition, while I've only gone off-roading a few times, it has been a really fun experience. I also just like the design of it, and I thought both these cars would add a splash of color to my collection. So while the Bronco did a good job adding color with its red, it still has a lot of black and gray on it. And although I love the vehicle because of the reasons I mentioned earlier, I really fell in love with the Ford GT Heritage Edition after building it. It's now probably my favorite car in my collection. I didn't realize I would like it this much. I'd never even heard of this car beforehand, which goes to show how much I know about cars. But after building it, I really like the way it looks. Now, another thing that's so great about the Speed Champions line is the build process. All these vehicles are pretty small, probably between 200 and 300 pieces. Because of that, the designers had to figure out a lot of interesting building techniques to make these details work out. And because of that, building these is really interesting. It's not your typical just stacking Lego on top of each other. All of them use really cool techniques that I've never seen in Lego builds before, and all of them were a joy to put together. The only issue I have with building them is that all these vehicles have a lot of stickers to them. In fact, this line is probably one of the highest stickers to piece ratio of any line Lego has. But after building them, I kind of realized how important that was. Like I said, these cars are really detailed, and the stickers just add a splash of detail that wouldn't be possible otherwise. Some things, like the side of this GTR, just wouldn't be possible to do brick built, adding these blue lines at this scale. You had to do it by either a sticker or a print. And I understand that printing this many pieces would be expensive for Lego, so I get why they had to go with stickers. And you can see it really adds a lot to the look. Without the stickers, the builds do just look a little bit more bland, and so it's important to add them. While adding stickers is not the most fun thing for Lego sets, the rest of these builds are really fun. I also really like the size of these. As I said before, they're just small enough that they can fit on a shelf and not look out of place, even if you don't have a bigger Lego collection around it. Or in my case, I can fit a good number of them on my shelf, even though I have pretty limited space to display Lego sets. I typically store all 5 of these on a single level of my shelf, which is not very big, but goes to show how little space these take up. I put them at a slight angle because I think it looks nicer than facing them head on. As you can see, having them at an angle lets you see not only the front, but also part of the side, which I think includes a lot of cool details that you wouldn't otherwise be able to see just looking at them from the front. Every once in a while, I will take one of these at a time and put it on my desk, and I don't think it looks out of place there at all, which is why I said it's a perfect thing to get if you just want to put it on your office desk without having to have too much other Lego around it, or even any other Lego around it. What surprised me about this line is that my favorite cars didn't end up being the movie cars. I actually like these two the best of all of them. If I had to give a ranking, I would say that my favorite is the Ford GT Heritage Edition, followed by the Bronco, then the Skyline GTR, the Dodge Charger, and finally the Aston Martin DB5. Now, that's not to say that I dislike any of these. I like them all a lot. That's just the order that I would rank them in. Now, showing these off in order of my least favorite to favorite, first we have the Aston Martin DB5, the first one I got. Now, the reason I don't like this as much as the others is because after looking at it for a while, I realized that the Aston Martin DB5 is just not a very sporty looking car, which is what I typically like. Also, the colors are kind of bland. Now, I'm glad they did this because it's accurate to the movies, but personally, the gray just is a little bit bland sitting on my shelf. I do like the hints of chrome that are in the bumpers, but that's about all the color that's in this set. Additionally, I feel like this set is a little bit bland when looking at it from the front. You can see it looks a little boxy, and I think a reason for that might just be its lack of rear view mirrors. Finally, the stickers and some of the printing on this back windshield piece are not the same color as the Lego bricks, which is a little bit off-putting. So other than a few of those minor nitpicks, I do really enjoy this car. I think the custom wheel hubcaps that they made look really nice and pretty accurate to the movie. I like the minifigure that comes with it. It's pretty funny to be able to get a James Bond minifigure in Lego. This set also came with a bunch of different license plates to represent the cars in different movies. I just have this one on, but there's plenty of others you can swap it out for. I think the front section looks pretty good. The headlights look good and the grille looks cool. Also, all of those are printed, which is pretty nice. I also think that the car has a fairly good side profile, and I can definitely imagine James Bond driving around in this car. The build was fun. The front section actually tilts down a little bit. You can see here, I can pull it up, but normally it's tilted down, and that was a fun technique to be able to put together. Next up, we have the Dodge Charger. I think the Dodge Charger is a great build. This car is very accurate to what it looked like in real life. I'm just not a huge fan of this type of car. Of course, I do like owning it because it reminds me of the movie, and I did like that movie. And again, the custom hubcaps are a cool addition. I'm also glad to have a Vin Diesel minifigure. Next, we have the GTR. The GTR is the first in the type of cars that I like, which tend to be slightly more sporty cars. I really like that the GTR has the little NOS containers inside as just a reference to the movie, and getting a Paul Walker minifigure is pretty cool too. I think the front looks really good. It looks really accurate to the car in the movie. I'm not a huge car guy. I heard that the front's supposed to be tilted down more, and if I look closely at pictures, I do see that that is the case, but it doesn't bother me too much. While most Speed Champions cars don't have a lot of studs on top, it doesn't bother me to see that because I like a reminder that these objects are Lego. I collect these not just because of what they represent, but because they are Lego sets, and I like to be reminded of that in some way. Overall, I think this looks pretty realistic to the movie. I like the way both the front and the back look, and I'm happy to have this. Next up is the Bronco. The Bronco, I think, has a great color scheme. The black and red look pretty good together, and the gray gives it a nice touch. I also like the blue on the roll cage on the inside. I think it's cool that it came with some extra tires and that it's just a pretty rugged, tough looking vehicle, while also being a lot larger than the other cars. It really stands out because of its size. I don't know much about this car in real life, but it reminds me of the times I went off-roading, even if it was in a different vehicle, and I think it looks good on my shelf. Finally, we have my favorite of the bunch, the Ford GT Heritage Edition. I just think this thing looks so good from the front and from the back. I love the little window into the engine on the top here, and I think the color scheme works great on this. I don't know much about this car in real life, but here in Lego form, I think it looks great. Just a classic sporty looking car that's really the type of car that I like to see. So in terms of my plans for the future of buying sets in this line, I don't have that much space for more of them. I think the Lamborghini Countach looks pretty cool. If I got it, I would be able to fit these on my shelf if I straighten them out, but I don't know if that looks as good as they look now when they're tilted, so I'm not sure if I want to get it. I've considered dedicating more shelf space to them, but I'd only want to do that if I got a few more, and right now the Lamborghini is the only one that really interests me. If they come out with more in the future that I think look cool, maybe I'll consider getting more then. Overall, I'm really happy with my collection of cars. I think they look great on my shelf, and they weren't too expensive to buy. If you're a collector like me, or you don't have a huge Lego collection, or you don't have a ton of space, then I would definitely recommend getting into this line, especially if you're into cars. But even for someone like me, who's not super into cars, this is a great line to collect. I have recorded speed builds of almost all of these, just not the DB5, and I'm thinking about releasing that as just a mega speed build video. But if there's any of these that you'd like to see me review independently from all the rest, let me know, and I can make more videos about them. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did like it, please feel free to give it a like, and if you enjoy this type of content, subscribe to my channel, because there will be more. If you have any feedback to give me, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'm always open to any kind of feedback. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and have a great day.